Hello, this is Ray Johnson from Exit Experts. First off, I hope and trust that all of you and yours are safe and sound in this challenging time. I'm here today to talk about my system for fundraising called FAST. It's a system designed to help business owners have the highest potential for raising the capital they need to run their company successfully. Whether you run a startup company or an established company, the FAST system can help you find new investors and secure the capital you need to build your business. The world of fundraising is vast, and there are many places you might be able to find capital to build your business. I learned some time ago, if you try to teach someone everything you know, they'll learn nothing. So I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to teach you everything I know about fundraising in 15 minutes. What I am going to do is give you an overview of the FAST fundraising system. But before I do that, I'm going to jump right to the conclusions of this presentation, and here it is. There are only 3 critical questions that you need to effectively answer for your investors to increase the chances of them investing. The first critical question is, how does your company make money? We need to make sure investors clearly and specifically understand how your company makes money. The second critical question is, how does the investor make money? We need to explain again very clearly how the investor will earn a return in the future. I realize we may not even know now how that's going to happen. It might be an IPO, it might be a sale to a strategic, but we have to give them some ideas on how it could happen and what the value might be. The third critical question is, why is it unlikely that the investor will lose their money? Of course, we can't guarantee it, but we need to concisely explain to the investor why the cards are stacked in your favor and why you have a much better chance of succeeding than of failing. Now, if we answer those 3 critical questions effectively for potential investors, and then they go home and remember them, and they're able to relay them to their spouse when the spouse asks, why are we taking money out of our bank account to invest in this company? Then you'll have a very good chance of getting an investment from potential qualified investors. How do I know? Let me give you a rapid 60-second intro to me and my background, and I'm going to go very quickly here. I spent a lot of time in big cities, lived in Dallas, Chicago, New York, Boston, San Diego, San Francisco, Miami, Tampa, and even Philly. Don't worry, it has nothing to do with witness protection or running from the law. But I actually grew up in a place like this, up in Michigan, where they're famous for making these. We're also famous for this, which is why I moved here. I grew up in a big family, and believe me, these people are a lot happier than they look in this so-called professional picture. After I left the loving embrace of my family, I went here and fell in love with this because of college football. I always wanted to be like him, an electrical engineer, because I was very interested in electronics and computers. But after I got my electrical engineering degree, I became a salesman. After a few years of being a salesman, I went here, which is this, and I got one of these because I always wanted to be one of these. Be nice now. Not here, but running something like this, a small business. And for the last 30 years, I've been the CEO and or CFO of a number of successful small companies. Running small businesses was always a challenge, but I had a lot of success building revenue and raising capital. I'm proud to say that I helped a lot of investors make a lot of money, and I was always very concerned about losing investors' money. Fortunately, in 30 years, I never have. In my 30 years of running companies, I had a lot of great employees, but I have to admit, I got tired of dealing with personnel issues. So a number of years ago, I started Exit Experts, where I help small business owners put together the pieces of raising capital to grow their companies and also to sell their companies when they're ready to exit. For the first 20 years of my career, I had a lot of experience raising capital from individuals, from angel investors, and even strategic investors. But I didn't have experience with institutional investors, like some of these listed on the right side of the slide. So about 12 years ago, I joined together with this fine bearded fellow who was my best friend and my roommate from Harvard Business School. And we decided to do this. We didn't decide to go cliff jumping or go on vacation. We decided to start an impact technology venture capital fund. This one, the Aravipa Fund, invests only in clean tech or green technologies that help to make the planet a better place to live. We founded it in 2008 with the idea that it would be a 15-year investment fund. We've raised over $135 million. That's $25 million into our venture fund and $110 million from sidecar investors that have also invested in our portfolio companies. These investors are largely individuals, but also many family office investors. We've made 11 investments in 12 years, and 6 companies continue to grow, and we hope to see exits in the next few years with those companies. As you can see, I've learned a lot about fundraising from starting and building companies, and as a venture capitalist from investing in companies. And although I've had significant success, I've also made a lot of mistakes along the way. But they've all been incredible lessons that I want to share with you. That's why I developed the FAST system. Let's go through the 4 steps briefly. Now, many people start with an elaborate business plan or pitch deck and believe that that is the key to finding potential investors. But in reality, the first step should be finding potential investors, qualified investors. Without a significant list of potential investors, the business plan or pitch deck is not going to take you very far. The first step in the FAST system is find, and that means finding potential investors. First, you must develop an investor criteria. What type of investors are you going to be seeking? Accredited investors, non-accredited, people from the industry, outside the industry, local investors, or anyone across the nation? What are your investor minimums? After you've set your criteria, then you need to begin to develop your list and then expand that list by asking for referrals and even paying referral fees. Once that's done, you need to qualify your investors. And you can do that by what you say and offer in an email, or when you're speaking to someone that's interested in learning more about the investment. You need to make sure before you waste your time presenting the company investment opportunity for an hour or more that the investor, 1, has investor capital to invest at this time, 2, that they invest in early stage companies like yours. Have they done it in the past? And 3, do they have an interest in investing or a knowledge of your industry? If they don't have any of those 3, the likelihood of them becoming an investor is very low. For example, a lot of my investments have been medical device companies. And I find doctors are very open to investing in those, but they're not going to invest in something that's more retail-oriented like a hair salon. Before we can explain to investors how the company will make money, that first critical question that I mentioned earlier, you need to understand how the company can best build value. The second step in the FAST system is assess company value. We have to assess the key value contributors of the company, which are often found in the technology, the team, or a unique way of reaching a target market. You may be strong on all of these, but the real key is to determine what your differentiators are relative to your competition. What will make you stand out from the competition? Then you need to translate that into simple terms that your investors will understand and believe. Many people make it that far, but then skip this last critical step. They don't test their value proposition on unbiased third-party individuals who have knowledge but no vested interest. If you don't seek extensive critical feedback, you'll never know if your value proposition is understandable and believable. After we assess the company's key value proposition, we need to answer that second critical question of how investors will make money. The third step of the FAST system is to show them the investment opportunity in the most effective way. Now, I don't believe anymore in spending a lot of time on creating elaborate and long business plans. I believe the most important parts of a business plan can be explained in a 2 or 3 page document. However, you will need to create a high quality pitch deck that answers those 3 critical questions I've been talking about. You'll then launch your marketing through a roadshow, traveling around the country, meeting with potential investors, or in my case, I do everything by email. Now, just before you head off to start talking to investors, you're going to want to make sure you rehearse the presentation at least 5 to 10 hours. If you haven't rehearsed at least 5 hours, you haven't done yourself justice. And you should record what you say because feedback is critical. As you're giving the presentation, make sure you always assess the level of understanding and of interest from all the investors. I like to stop and often ask, does that make sense? Or does that sound good to you? Then I always ask the million-dollar question at the end of the presentation. How likely are you to make an investment? And if you do invest, how much would you be comfortable investing? Or something along those lines. Then you'll have the arduous task of following up. Don't be afraid to send 5 to even 10 emails or text messages, which are becoming increasingly accepted by potential investors, and also use the phone. We often forget to use the phone these days, but I found that people are more likely to answer the phone or return a message than they are to return an email message often. Keep in mind, as you're going through your follow-up, my philosophy of polite persistence pays. With each phone call, with each email that I send, I'm more polite than the last time, but I'm also more persistent. It's great to get an investment commitment from a potential investor, but you have to realize you're still quite a ways off from having the money in the bank. The fourth step of the FAST system is transact. How do you get the investment to close? First, you need to make sure you have finalized agreements well before you start your presentation. And you want to make sure that these agreements are simple and minimize the amount of effort the investor has to make. I've seen agreements that are over 100 pages that require investors to sign in 10 different places. It's very difficult for investors to follow those documents and to sign them correctly. So you want to make it easy for investors to sign the documents and even how they send the funds. I often like to tell investors that they can mail their investment by check and their documents by mail. I'll send them copies that are ready for them to sign with tabs to show them where to sign. And if they don't want to mail things back, they can do it electronically. I use DocuSign. They can also email the documents back using Adobe. I also create an opportunity for them to send in the funds by wire transfer. So I give them multiple options to make it easy for the investors to invest. And then I follow up every step of the way. I've developed a series of standard responses that remind them and thank them for completing each step. Thank you for completing the documents. We're waiting for your funds. Thank you for sending the funds that we received in our bank today. We're waiting to send you our stock certificate. You may want to consider developing some of these and following up again every step of the way. When it's all said and done, you want to make sure you thank the investors for their investment and assure them that you're going to stay in contact, that you're doing your best, and that everyone in the company is working hard to make their investment a successful one. Now, because of our limited time, I'm just scratching the surface on the FAST system. I'm going to wrap it up now and give you very quickly the key takeaway points. The world of fundraising is vast, and there are many places you might be able to find capital to build your business. But there's only 3 critical questions you have to answer. Number 1, how is the company going to make money? Number 2, how is the investor going to make money? And number 3, why is it unlikely that the investor will lose their money? Before you start, you need to be incredibly well prepared, and you need to realize this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You also need to have a system like FAST or something similar to it that you're going to follow every step of the way. At times you're going to feel down and exhausted, but if you stick to your process, you're going to achieve your reward. I hope your time with me today was rewarding and that I was able to give you the gift of knowledge. Thank you.